Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and I want to talk about the making of original Dungeons & Dragons 1970 to 1977 official Wizards of the Coast Hasbro printed book in full knowledge of the Tolkien, with the Tolkien estate in full knowledge of its publication. Really incredible. As I understand it, and in my humble opinion, like this was publicly stated a while ago. There's, if the Tolkien estate was not in full knowledge of it, there's no reason for that, because communication has been established between Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast through Magic the Gathering, Lord of the Rings, right? But what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about the depiction of women in the in original Dungeons & Dragons, right? The original Gary Gygax, the first edition of Dungeons & Dragons, how did it depict women, right? So there's a lot of questions about, did Gary do this right? Did he do it wrong when he published Dungeons & Dragons? And boy, did he do it wrong. The depiction of women in Dungeons & Dragons first edition is absolutely abominable. Abominable, right? So in this book, right, you will see all of Dungeons & Dragons first edition. You will see all of what I really think is the Dungeons & Dragons Tolkien edition. If you want to play Dungeons & Dragons Lord of the Rings, this is the edition to do it with, right? It's got stats for hobbits, it's got stats for balrogs, it's got stats for men, it's got stats for elves, it's got stats for dwarves, right? It's got every single species in Lord of the Rings and monsters from Lord of the Rings. It's Lord of the Rings. It's Dungeons & Dragons Lord of the Rings edition, in my humble opinion. 100%. 100%. Right? Okay. When you, and it's the full first edition. It's everything that was printed for it. Like every single piece and every single extra part that was established for it, it's all there, right? And that's really fascinating, right? Because you could play the full Dungeons & Dragons Lord of the Rings Tolkien edition, in my humble opinion, with this book. You can just, everybody, now ain't gonna be cheap, right? Like, you and every single person at the table is gonna drop $100 on the book alone, right? But then you can finally play D&D canon Lord of the Rings Tolkien edition, right? In my humble opinion. All right. When you do that, you are going to see the depiction of women abominably presented, right? And the reason why is no less than 5 times in this book, women are depicted without clothes. What? Like, you're like, why did she have a shirt on? Like, and it's all over the edition, right? This is like, oh, wait, you drew that lady, but you forgot her shirt. Like, and I don't think you forgot it. I think you left it out on purpose, right? And there are a couple of shirtless guys in here, but it's kind of not the same thing. Our culture really doesn't accept that, right? And so that's not cool. Like, and it's not cool. It is not cool, right? It is very much not cool, right? So one of the things is, like, we have the evidence now. It's been totally printed. It's like completely reprinted, right? And so all, and before, if you wanted any of this stuff, you couldn't get it, right? Like, this stuff was sitting in people's basements, and and nobody, like, this stuff was not easily available, right? And maybe like 5 people in the world had access to this, but now 5 million people probably are gonna have this book before it's done, right? And right now, I think no less than 5,000 to 50,000 people own it right now, right? And so, and the evidence is there, right? So, like, there's this question of, hey, how did D&D, how did Dungeons & Dragons depict women originally? Terribly, absolutely terribly. There was not equal representation for women from the start. Gary screwed this up, right? He did not present women in a respectful and dutiful manner. It's just not cool. Like, and there's really no, like, it's not debatable, right? Like, it's just not cool. What he did was not cool. And it was 1974, I understand that, but Gary was a polymath. Gary was the third most epic American ever. It goes George Washington, Harriet Tubman, Gary Gygax. Those are the 3 best Americans who have ever been born, right? But he was human, and he made mistakes, and this was an abominable, horrible, really bad mistake. Really bad mistake. It was not cool what he did. Not cool. Right? So Gary done effed up. There's just no way around it because we're looking at the evidence, right? Like, it's just like, you're like, whoa, that's a lot of ladies, and almost none of them got shirts on. In fact, I'm not sure there are any women depicted in the first edition. I don't remember seeing a single woman in the original edition that has a shirt on. And I'm like, oh, that's not cool, man. That is definitely not cool. So we got the evidence. The book's out. And I've been waiting for this thing. I've been very excited about seeing this book. I've been able to read the whole thing. And I will tell you right now, whoo! Women were not depicted correctly in Dungeons & Dragons first edition. They simply weren't in original Dungeons & Dragons or in Dungeons & Dragons Lord of the Rings Tolkien edition, as I think its true name actually is. Not all those are the same edition, right? But it is not cool. It was very much not cool. Not cool. Not cool. Not cool. And, once we get the evidence, we got to look at it, right? So every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. Absolutely nothing more. Absolutely nothing less. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion on this book. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.